Good morning. Thank you for coming. How did you get in here? Security! Hi, it's me. It's Hallmonitor of the Universe, and welcome to my first episode, I think, may or may not, who knows, first episode of the Hallmonitor of the Universe show. Maybe, perhaps that's the name. I don't know. Listen. So, let's get into it. Later on, I'm going to have a guest come on, a friend of mine from TikTok named Kristal. We're going to discuss something that happened to her when she was a bitty little girl, but let's talk about me first. So, this is going to be kind of hard. So, when I was 21, I was a freak of nature. No, I wasn't a freak of nature. I was a young twink frolicking around Las Vegas, baby. This is pre-social media, baby. This is when we went to concerts and didn't film the whole concert, girl. We just enjoyed the concert, mama, okay? And I was single in and around this time. I was in and out of a 10-year relationship that we get back together a couple months after this event happened. But, oh my God, my cat is like crawling up the couch. Boo! Anyways, so I went on a date with this guy. And he was really rich. He owned businesses in Las Vegas. And like I said, I was a young, gay, twink treat, if you must. And I shouldn't have gone on this date. He kept pursuing me every time we would go out to the nightclubs. And I should have said no. But the people pleaser in me back then said yes. Okay, hold on one second. We gotta do a little break, girl. Hold on, I gotta make sure these lips are good, girl. Sorry about all the nonsense that's going on, girl. We have a fucking barn. We have barn animals, girl, everywhere in the living room. So I say yes to go on this date. People, ladies, gentlemen, trans people, non-binary, gender non-conforming, if you do not want to go, what is that right there? What is that? If you do not want to go on a date with someone, don't. Don't think, well, maybe if I go on this date, maybe I'll like him. No, if you have the initial feelings of not liking someone or not being sexually attracted to someone or just pretty much thinking that they're a monster, go with those feelings, okay? Don't go on the date. But I went on the date. I did. We went to this restaurant. I cannot remember the name of it. It was like off of Buffalo in Las Vegas, Buffalo and 215, kind of far out. We went to this restaurant. I, like an idiot, paid because I was drinking like a fucking horse, girl. I just was having cocktails and cocktails. Then we went to a nightclub. I still can't believe I paid. Then we went to a nightclub where I proceeded to drink some more. I was dating at the time, okay? And I was 21, and I was a slut, okay? So I was fucking around with this one guy who worked at a kiosk in the Fashion Show Mall. If you don't know what the Fashion Show Mall is, Google it. I'm not here to sit here and tell you and explain all that. But he worked at the Fashion Show Mall. He would text me randomly sometimes, and so that night while I was on this date, he texted me. He wanted me to come out to the parking lot. And I had enough cocktails in me that I did. He fucked me in the back seat of his car, which we would do constantly. Oh, good lay. Baby, if you're out there and you see this, thank you, baby. You were one of the good. You were pretty average looking, which, I mean, who am I to sit there and judge anything? But I don't know if you were average looking. You were hot. The cock was good. The penis was good, and that's all I remember. It was great. Thank you, baby, for cleaning out the pipes. With that being said, I went out. I had sex while I was on this date. Went back to the date. This is where things went awry. I don't remember anything after that. Okay? And even back then, I knew, like, if I blacked out, it was a blackout. This was like a complete and utter, like, I could still remember things in a blackout, which I did kind of remember this, but there was a very specific thing that happened to my body. We'll get into it. So I black out. The next thing I know, I wake up and I am throwing up all over a bathroom that I don't recognize. So I'm like, oh my God, my stomach hurts and I can't move. I'm naked and I can't move. I realized that the guy that I was on a date with Oh my God, all the power went out. How fucking spooky. Hold on, I'll be right back. So pretty much my date was fucking me while I was throwing up. Penetrating me, fucking me, whatever you want to call it. I remember I tried to get him to stop, but I couldn't move and I couldn't talk, okay? Which is weird because I've never had that happen before. So I pass back out. I wake up, my legs are high up in the air, and he is fucking me on his bed. So he's now moved me to the bed, and he's fucking me. I remember trying to move. I remember trying to say stop. The only thing I thought of later was, thank God I couldn't feel or do anything because I wanted nothing to do with this man. And then I woke up a third time. I was throwing up again in the bathroom. He was having sex with me again. And then I wake up in the morning. I'm better. I feel better. And I remember just getting dressed and leaving. And then I saw him later on. He ended up seeing that I had sex with someone in the car. I guess he followed me, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense. He followed me, and then he started to call me a whore, a slut, and this continued until he moved out of town, whatever. It took me about 10 years to even talk about this, and because I thought, well, I'm just a drunk bitch that deserves to get raped, and that's not the case, okay? No one deserves to be drugged, because that's what happened to me. I was date raped. On a date, literally, on a date where I probably would have slept with him anyways if I was drunk enough because I was that stupid when I was young. But he decided he wanted me to just lay there like a fucking sack of potatoes, okay? His name is JL. I am going to put his Instagram socials at the end. I know I'm not the only one that he did this to, but today I can talk about this without any emotion. I used to not be able to do that. It was very emotional for me to talk about. I would cry every single time. But I do not think that I am even close to what, sorry, how do I say this? I know that this happens to way more gender-assigned men than we think, okay? It happens a lot, it happens to, I want to say most every woman at some point in their life, or at least they've been touched inappropriately. So I hope this helps. Let's get into talking to Kristal, because Kristal has a similar story, but way fucking crazier. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Kristal with a K, a little homie from TikTok. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
That's where we met, right? TikTok?
Yeah, you're my first friend. I started following you when you lived in LA and we're crushing cans of beer.
I was doing what?
You drink beer in a can, which I liked about you.
I did drink beer in a can. Oh my God. I love a good beer in a can.
I know.
Who doesn't?
I do. I do.
I love it. A nice Bud Light.
Faithful.
And I also, you know what else I love? I love in the summer, I love a Bud Light Lime by the pool. Like, it needs to be fucking cold, but like,
Yeah.
I love a good little couple Bud Light Limes, baby.
Yeah. I'm from the Anheuser-Busch Central St. Louis, so I have a little cold, excuse me. But
No,
yeah, we
you're
all
good.
love our more of a Budweiser girl, actually. Uh Fully never had a Bud Light. I'm a Budweiser girl, but I have respect.
I don't know if I've ever had an actual, maybe. Do you remember Zima?
Oh yes, malt liquor. I
Do you
love it.
do you remember Tequiza? Do you remember that?
No, but I know that my aunt loved tequila rose. It was like
Okay.
pink creamy tequila that you had to keep in the fridge.
Tequila was like tequila mixed with beer. It was sick. It was only out for like a little bit of time, but I just
Yeah,
remember, or Smirnoff Ice. I loved a
Alpha
Smirnoff Ice back
and
in
the
the day.
Mad Dog.
I never
Did
had
you
a
ever?
Mad, no, I never had a Mad Dog, and I was never around for the Four Loco. That wasn't something that I,
No, my stepson loves him some Four Locos, about four Locos, but I don't like. I'm afraid I'm gonna have a heart attack if
well,
I
because
drink one of those
isn't that energy drink with,
with ginseng, weird stuff, and alcohol.
well, so when I was doing the intro and I was talking about when I got raped, it's still so hard. It's funny, it's easy for me to talk about it, but I don't know why it's so hard to say raped. But I mean, that's what it was. It was raped. I think a lot of times people will say taken advantage of, and I'm like, no, I mean it was a rape. But what was I saying about it? I was going somewhere with it.
Well, Oh, I don't know. How about, I don't know. I
Oh, I was
forgot.
saying we were talking about the alcohol, and I was very inebriated when I got raped. And so for a long time, I didn't talk about it. I just assumed I wasn't able to move or talk because I was blacked out or I was on. And years later, I talked to a therapist, and the therapist was like, "That, I mean, that sounds like you were roofied like on the date." And then it started to like click, because even after the event, the guy started to see me out and he'd call me a whore and a slut and all these different things. But it's totally part of the grooming, and it's totally part of what these men do.
And,
Or
and men on the stand that are brave enough to be witnesses, federal judges will ask them, what did you drink? Did you take any drugs? In a court of law, as if that has something to do with that. So even in the courts, that's factored into their equation of whether you were raped or not, and that's a problem, because no is no is no is no.
no,
No.
absolutely. And it also goes into like, also I see, I like dressing provocative, whatever, but that doesn't also allow, it's not a invitation for you to come over and touch me or talk to me in a certain way. Like, I'm allowed to dress however I want to dress and not be raped.
Yes, yes, I have to say that to my 16-year-old. She wears very small shirts and a very long torso, and I have to say, you can't wear that, and she says, yes, I can. And I find myself questioning myself why I'm telling her she can't wear that. So I have to think
Well,
hard. Um,
okay, so I feel like some of that, don't you think some of that's from your experience that we're going to talk about, maybe?
yeah,
No?
yes, because
What,
of wearing that night, absolutely.
so when, tell, like, kind of paint a picture. Like, where were you? What was the time? All that stuff.
15,
Okay.
and it was at Six Flags St. Louis. And I had never heard of them. And my best friend still to this day, Candy. The joke was Candy and Kristal, stripper names. We got dropped off Flags by ourselves because people were coming, a show was coming. And we were like, okay, so we went to Six Flags. I had on a bikini top because it gets
Okay.
hot as balls here, and a little white mini skirt. And I was just like 15. And we go and we get in line and we sit down and we got like third row seat center. It was like probably $10 extra to get into Six Flags. And we're watching the show, and a guy started playing a piano. And we were like, oh my God, he's so cute. And all the girls are screaming in the audience. New band, obviously still playing it just a Six Flags. And I know when people are looking at me.
Oh,
I
same.
know, and working at a restaurant, I know when I get feel an energy, whether reciprocated or not, between somebody. Always have. And I could tell. And I'm like, am I crazy? Are they like looking at me on stage? Are they like pointing me out? Like, I'd never had an experience like that. And my friend and I started talking about it. I'm like, I think they're looking at
Yeah.
us. So
So real
uh
quick, you didn't know anything about this band. You just went with your friend.
especially the opening act.
And it was at that time it was a newer band, right? What was the year?
I want to say 1989.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I got excited, obviously. Um, then the opening band stopped. He stopped, and the bigger band, the showcase band, came out on stage, and they were singing their songs. And during that time, a security guard came out and got just me. They didn't take my best friend who was with me, and that was awkward. And I was like,
But
well,
you're
I'm the
so
only.
young.
I know, and I think she was even kind of like, I mean, go see what's going on. Eventually we're going to leave together anyway. So I go back, and then there's a trailer, and it was the opening act guy, and he was really cute and soft and quiet. And I don't exactly remember what we were talking about.
How old do you think he was?
He was a little bit older than the main band. He was in his 20s
Okay.
for sure. For sure. Maybe I want to say maybe 24, 25.
Okay.
I back. I felt like he was flirting with me, though. There was definitely like a banter, but I didn't know. Well, I was completely sober. I didn't drink or anything until my 20s. And I just didn't know really. Then he invited me back to the hotel they were staying in downtown area where I live. And I was like, okay, well, I've got to go get my friend. I've got to go get my friend. And it's like, okay, when the show's over, you guys will come with us. And I was like, okay,
Right. Totally. Fun.
let's go.
Yeah.
And I go audience and I tell my friend what happened. I was like, we're going here. This is the hotel they're staying at. And that hotel is still there. So I was like, we're going to party with blah, 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 blah. It's going to be so fun. We didn't have any other friends to call. There were no cell phones then. My mom
Right.
really didn't pay attention to where I was at that age. So we go to the hotel. We go ride in the bus with them to the hotel. And we get to the hotel.
Was there drinking? Was there drugs?
No, I don't remember any drink. They may have been drinking.
Okay.
But no, not offered to us or anything like that. I don't remember feeling like out of my mind at all. Like I was drunk, like that. So the guy I met first that called me back, he was playing piano in the hotel of the lobby. He was a piano player. So he's playing piano in the hotel of the lobby. And the band members and the showcase band were like kind of strolling around. They might have been drinking. They were strolling around the lobby. And I was like, this is so cool because they're just like hanging out amongst the people in St. Louis, Missouri. Next thing you know, the guy who called me back originally, he left. And I kind of thought, like he just like stopped talking to me. Like he acted like he had never seen me before when I got to the hotel where they all were partying. So he left. And
that was probably due to him being the opening act. And I'm assuming what I know is going to happen. Like, I'm assuming they did that. They probably told him, right? Especially if you're saying he stopped talking and looking at you completely.
Completely. Yeah. It felt like a setup.
Okay.
And then one of the key members of the band, well, they were all key members, started playing the piano as well. And then he looked at me and he said, meet me in the elevator. So I go up in the elevator with the security guard. I won't say his name, but the security guard ended up being a good guy, I think. So I go up into the elevator, glass elevator, looking around at everyone. My friend's looking at me like, where the fuck are you going? What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm in it now. I'm looking at her like, I'm in it now.
Right.
And I'm escorted to a room. And when I got into that room, all the lights were off. And basically the guy was sitting on the couch with his pants off and basically asked me to perform oral.
Okay.
Which
and this is like this is like one of the main band members. Okay, gotcha.
Super hot. Just saying at the time. It was really, really difficult because I had never done that before. And there's a lot of emotion and a lot of guilt with that. Because I don't know, I guess as a young woman or a young girl, I wanted to be good at it. Which is
and also I think in that time there isn't a lot of context. I think a lot of kids have a lot of stuff to look into now. Like back in the 80s, we didn't talk about that kind of stuff. We didn't talk about blowjobs, and I mean we didn't know as children even kind of what it was.
Yeah, we didn't have Twitter. I mean, it's on Twitter.
Totally.
So I remember having to do it much longer and him being forceful about it. And it was just embarrassing. I actually peed my pants.
Oh my God.
And I had a bikini on, like I said, and then a white skirt. And I actually peed my pants and it got really gross. I was like, oh my God, like it was a lot. So I think I stopped and I assumed that we were going to do the rest of it, that we were going to have sex, and we didn't. So it was weird. And I went into the bathroom because obviously I'd peed myself, and I'm in the bathroom and I'm like washing out my bathing suit bottoms. I'm totally humiliated. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's now like 2:00 in the morning. No one knows. I don't even know my friend's still downstairs, and there's a knock on the door, and it's another band member. And he grabbed my wrist and said, "You're coming with me now." And the one whose room it was like, "Yeah, it's time for you to go." I mean, very mean, like brutal. And
Like
then,
also like this is very planned out.
yeah, I'm not the first one. And the fact that he grabbed my wrist, like I was never like physically abused. So that was like shocking to me. And I just was like, I cannot go in that other room. This is already bad. I should probably go home. And I kind of like made a little bit of scene. I was like, no, I don't think so. I need to go check where my friend is. Like, it's late. I don't think so. And he was like, no, come on, come on, come on, come on, and pulling me down the hallway. The security guard came up and he was like, hey, are you all right? And I was like, no, I need to go. Is my friend still here? And he's like, your friend left. She called her brother and left. And I was like, I don't know. I was freaking out. And the bodyguard actually stopped it, took me into his room, which then I was scared because I'm like, is he
Right.
gonna rape me? Now I'm with the security guard.
Right. Right. Totally.
This could be bad. This man was an angel. I laid in bed with him and he told me, he was like, this stuff happens for some reason. I just couldn't let it happen to you. We're leaving. The buses and everything are leaving at 5 a.m. You're fine here. And I felt very uncomfortable and nervous, but what was I going to do? He hadn't done anything except help me at that point. And he just talked to me. He actually owned a shoe store. He was from Brooklyn originally and like was working on, like, he told me his whole life story. And I woke up and I passed out and I woke up the next morning and he had ordered room service and he left $100 and a note with his phone number and said, if you ever, are in Brooklyn, come by my shoe store sometime, and was gone. They were gone when I woke up. And I talked to that guy
You
over the
did.
phone for like a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. And he actually got us tickets to other shows and we would go backstage, but nothing like that ever happened again.
Do
But
you think that he did it because he felt, I mean, because what you said, he said that he was, it always happens, but it couldn't happen to you. Do you
yeah,
do you feel like he did it for you to like make up for the other things that he's seen? Or do you think he was making that up?
I think he was a nice guy. And I think
Okay.
that he, for some reason, just was looking at, I don't know. He just didn't, I think I
Well,
was
and I
safe.
think also the important thing is I wonder how many people after the first experience and then being passed along actually would have said, I'm not doing this. Like, I wonder how many girls actually went through, or not girl, whoever it went, like went through and actually gave the whole band, if that's what was going on, blowjobs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like if I went to the second room, it would have been worse than that. Um,
Well, especially him grabbing your wrist and being so
yeah,
forceful.
violently hard. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, aren't you like, didn't I just watch you perform? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Like, I could go tell People Magazine this right now. Like, I
Totally.
did have those thoughts as the days go on. Now, did Butch, the security guard, did he save other girls? Probably. He had a family. I mean, he had kids. He like,
And I don't think,
he
I'm going to
didn't
be
do
honest with
anything
you,
to me, and that's shocking.
I don't think back then, I even think now, I don't think that even telling a magazine, it just depends on who that person is. I mean, you see so many things get pushed under the rug now. I think it'd be definitely different now. Um, yeah.
They, and since they were still performing at Six Flags, but then a year and a half later, when I went to see them, they were at the sold out arena. I mean, they had 15
Well, so
thousand
this
people
band
there.
got very big.
Very
I was
big.
never into this band. They're not together anymore, but key members of the band are very, well, one specifically is a very big movie star now.
Correct.
Um, the other one, I don't know what he does. The the first, I think it's the first one. I don't know what he does anymore, but like one of them is now a huge, huge movie star.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Can
Yes, yes.
you
And
can you see him like how does that reaction happen? Like when you see these people on TV, like let's go back. Like when you saw them a second time, what were your thought process? Like what did you tell
At that point,
anybody?
at school, just my two closest friends and
Okay.
my mom actually,
Okay.
and my mom thought it was cool.
I know, girl, it's our parents are fucked up, dude.
He was
It
like, "Wow, wow, oh, like
lucky,
that's
lucky duck.
crazy." Yeah,
Yeah.
and I told my two, my friend who was there, and my other best friend, still to this day, only two of them, and I remember we felt cool. We felt cool, and I felt, is this going to happen again? But there were a lot of girls. I mean, this was like a whole new situation in a big arena. There were tons of girls backstage, and I was felt at that point I was more there as a guest of the security guard
Right.
than. But I do have pictures of them in the bus, in the limos, like going back to the hotel. But it wasn't like that. I mean, by then, who was I to them? They probably didn't even remember
Right. 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 Well, and
that
how
it was me.
sloppy. It sounds very sloppy too. It doesn't sound
Yeah,
very, but I mean, back in the 80s, I think it probably all that stuff, I bet you was kind of sloppy because there was no social media to be like, this person did this to me, and like you just did it. You just had it happen and then
yeah.
didn't talk about it. Yeah.
And my mom knew I was talking to the old security guard guy who did help me. But she, it was like 11 o'clock at night with my clear phone home line,
Yeah,
like talking
yeah.
to this random man. I'm like now 16, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool." And like, we got tickets a few times, and then later on, I thought that was really fucked up. And then later on, when I saw how rich they became, and I talked to my friend Candy, who was there with me. I did talk about telling my story. Like, why shouldn't I get 10 grand to call People Magazine or do this? But I'll remember, and this refers back to something I talked about earlier on the phone with you. When you have to go to court as a woman or as a victim, your my lawyer for a previous situation encouraged me not to go on the stand because they will make you look like trash.
Well,
You're poor.
they'll find anything
Your
to.
sex history will be brought into it. Uh, it's a problem for you. You got to really be prepared for a big fight. So I I never did, but I do wish I got like 10 grand out of it or something.
Well, girl, listen, maybe this. I mean, I was thinking, I'm like, just because we're not saying names, I mean, if people can like put it together,
It's
I think
not
it's
hard to
just
figure out.
because, like you said, not to like take any importance away from your life and your experience, but you were not the only one that happened to. It seems as if this group, this band, were all in on it together. They knew what was going on,
Yeah,
including the opening act. It also even sounds the way you're
yeah,
talking about it. The opening act is almost like a fluffer to get the girl into
yeah.
the
Because
act.
he was nice and he was gentle and he made you feel comfortable and he didn't make you feel like he just wanted to get down your pants. Like, oh,
Right.
listen to this song and what's this? And like, how much could I have really had to say at 15? Like, but they
Right.
were all older than me.
But if I could guess, I
Nobody
bet you
asked.
that was their game. They would have the nice one. I have a question. So when you walked into the room and his pants were just down, did he say anything? Or did you just like did he say here you go?
If
Or
he
was it
said
just kind of
anything,
like,
he was already hard.
okay,
And he was just like, he just, no, not really that I remember. It was kind of pushing my head down.
oh, girl,
So
I
he
hate.
went up. Then I went up with the security guard. He was ready to go. And I remember feeling like, well, why couldn't we just have sex? Like, what is it with this,
Probably
like
pregnancy, I bet. And
preg-
probably they could, if it turned into rape, you could have
DNA.
you could have proved it. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. No condoms or anything involved. And like, how risky for them. And then what if I had caught something?
Oh,
Like I could have
100%.
caught something for that if they were like doing this to everybody. And it was at the beginning. So it probably escalated, but then they probably ended up getting models and,
What was their age? What was the band's age?
they were early 20s, I would
Okay. And
say.
so everyone was
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay. So totally
Yeah.
old enough to drink, but also old enough to
Yeah.
know better. Yeah.
Maybe not the baby one. There's a baby one. Um, Maybe he wasn't 21 yet, but
Right.
yeah,
Right.
they were old enough to know. and it was gross. At the time it was cool. Now it's not cool.
What do you
But what
mean?
can you, it just, at the time, in that immaturity, I could see where other girls and boys think, oh my God, this is cool. I'm backstage, I'm getting
Right.
tickets, but it cost. So hi, kitty cat. Yeah, it was an experience. I've led an interesting life. I like
Do
my
you see
story.
other people talk about it and like you were you like I guess because we've just been in this like Me Too movement that we've been seeing, and like that is kind of what made me start talking about JL who raped me. I started seeing people talk about it and I thought, huh, like can I like discuss this? And then like years ago, before I was doing any social media stuff, I would do random videos. I guess I was doing it, but I talked about it, and I just remember the outpour of people, women specifically, coming to me and saying like thank you for doing this, because it, like we talked about earlier, this, if I had to guess, 90% of women have probably had something like this happen to them.
Every woman I know,
Not
every
ex- oh, every woman I know absolutely has a story. The second I start talking about my story, it's like a snap of the finger they start talking about their story because they feel comfortable enough to do it. So that doesn't make it right. I'm not saying that it being common, it should be the opposite. Like it being
and
common should
also
be
most of the
frightening.
boys in my family,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
they all have a story. And
Oh, the men in your family.
my cousins, my brothers, some of it,
I'm assuming it's probably family members, is what I'm assuming.
it has been
Yeah, okay.
neighbors, family
Neighbors, yeah,
members.
babysitters.
Uh, it's it's sad. It's really sad. It's and that's what I was trying to in the text. It's not. It's like in Hollywood, but it's coming from everywhere, and it's. I can't wait for all the old white male and some of the female politicians just drop fucking dead, and it's coming, baby. They got
Totally.
maybe 10 years left. Okay, and
I
I
don't
read a
even know about that.
study. Pharmacists came out and said that they would 76% of the dementia medicine that they distribute in Washington, D.C. goes to Congress members and everybody in. So now are they old and white and like,
Well, because they're
and
old as fuck.
they're on dementia medicine.
And they're running the goddamn
And
country.
they're taking away my rights and my daughter's rights, but it's about to change. Well, I'm sorry for your story.
Why
I
are you
did
sorry
that.
about me? I'm glad.
Well,
Listen,
that's
I'm just
happened.
grateful that guy, he drugged me, because I came to, then I passed out. I came to, I passed out. I'm just glad it happened the way it did, because for me, at least, it wasn't like violent. I think, I know
There,
that's, what's up?
does he live there where you live in
No, so what's
Waco?
funny is that he popped into my brain because I was like, I'm going to do an intro for this, but I wanted the intros to kind of coincide with what we're talking about. Like, I don't want it to be like random and then go into something else. So I was like, what do I talk about? And I had all these things listed, and I thought, well, why don't, it's still in my brain like something that is like hidden. And it's like, this happened to you, talk about it. And I think when I first started talking about it, my parents got really upset about it, my dad specifically. And I think for him, it was like he didn't know and he couldn't protect. But it's like there was nothing he could have. I mean, yes, do I think we need to stop telling men that they're everything and they can do anything they want? And then at the same time, tell them not to cry and be emotional? Do I think that has something to do with all of this? Absolutely. Like, I think the way we're raising boys allows them to go out and inappropriately touch people. It gives them the permission to buy a drug and drug people to then do what they want with them. I don't think it's all men. I can't think that. I hope it's not all men, because I have met good men. But what stresses me out is not like a single man. What stresses me out is men when they get together. So, like your story about how it's a band that all were together and taking underage girls and making them perform fellatio on them is psycho. I mean, and it just reminds me of Harvey Weinstein, because it's like, yes, Harvey Weinstein is a disgusting pig that obviously all these women came out and said, but what makes me more scared than Harvey Weinstein and like R. Kelly are the people that were complicit in the madness, the people that knew what was going on and didn't say anything, the people that escorted the people up. to the roof.
They
You know, so
yeah, when you speak about R. Kelly, Aaliyah's family knew. She was
correct.
14.
Yeah.
Now, as big as that production was that R. Kelly ran, people know.
Right.
People know. And it is hard for your story and my brothers. It's hard for their fathers. Either they deny it, or if they have the emotional capacity, then they don't know what to do. And all parents feel like failures most of the time anyway. Because we feel like we can always do more. Um, so I imagine it changes everything between a father-son's relationship, just as it changes everything between mothers and daughters and mothers and sons. And it adds this whole new terrible cycle that's very hard to break. And it needs to be talked about more, and boys need to be taught, you can say whatever you want. Please tell me whatever it is. You are safe here. It's a safe place. You can cry just like your sister. You can cry more than your sister because she's a mean bitch. Whatever your family situation is, I hope that women, and I think that the new women coming up, the ones who I think they're going to have less children, and I think that's going to be better for the children coming up. I think that there's going to be less of them, and parents are going to be more focused on one, because it happens every day. My customer wrote a book. She was manipulated by her priest at church, had a baby with him. I mean, it's a whole thing. I got the book right over here. It's a whole thing. I had to stop reading it during the sex scenes. I'm like, I just got to bring you spaghetti and meatballs, Patricia.
Yeah.
You're talking about sleeping with priests now, and that's a whole other thing. But she's published globally. So it's everybody, and we all need to talk about it. We all need to express it, and we all need to get it out so that it can stop.
Well, and men, gender assigned men, however you identify, know that like you saying it and telling the story is not going to make you any less than a man. In my opinion, it makes you more courageous. You know what I'm saying? More
And
people,
more human and humane.
and just know that it's not like, if you're hearing this, like whoever it is, know that you're not alone. I know that sometimes I think there's some fun to thinking that you're alone in this kind of thing. It's kind of like a weird psychosis thing, like, oh, I'm the only one this happened to. It's like, no, you're not. And even I don't want to get into this. It's telling me I have to upgrade. I only have 7 minutes left, and they're
Well,
cutting my
uh,
to upgrade to like Zoom Pro or something. I started really thinking about, and I'm not going to say who because I want them on the show, but even people that I was with in a relationship, I think, raped me.
my ex-husband me all the time.
Right. And so I don't think they think of it like that. And I don't know how malicious it actually is, because you're in a relationship, you own the house, you do all this. But there were times that I would be dead asleep and I would wake up to a penis inside of me. And I would think, because the penis was rather large, I would think, well, thank God I was knocked out of the part that hurt, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And I think that's another weird thing. Like, I could tell you about another story about this guy that owned this liquor company that picked me up when I was 16. I went to his house in Las Vegas, got me stoned, and had sex with me all over his house. I really enjoyed it. Years later, I was still masturbating thinking about it. He was in his 30s. I was 16. That was
Yeah.
rape. End of
Yeah.
story. Whether or not I enjoyed it, or whether or not I still think about it, doesn't make it right. And I think it also sets a stage for who the men we are going to pick and who we are going to be with later on in life, by allowing, or not knowing that was wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was 18 and working at a restaurant. I started dating the married 60, well, dating the 60-year-old owner of the restaurant. I remember thinking, well, this is good for me right now. This is good for me right now. But it was gross. And I can't believe that I put myself in those sexual situations with him. I mean, but at the time, I don't know. I don't know. I was 18. I had just lost my kids. So it was really all what I did for 5 years. I kind of blocked out.
Well, I don't think we should never beat ourselves up for what we did. I
I
think
do so much of that.
we should only get mad. I mean, never get mad at yourself. I think that's just so proactive. But like, is that the right word? Proactive?
Yes.
But never
Have to be proactive.
stop analyzing. Like, never stop thinking, okay, well, is this something, like, because it was recent when I called my best friend. I'm like, hey, so and so did this in our relationship. Is that rape? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's crazy. All rapes are not the same. All
No.
taking advantage of is not the same. Everyone is different. So like, just, I think I'm going to also tag in this video, in the comments, every resources for people that they can reach out to, probably suicide hotline resources, rape crisis centers, all this kind of stuff. You can also, I mean, I don't know, I can't really tell you much because like I'm a work in progress, but you can always message me. I don't know. What do you want, wrapping this up, what do you want people to like get from this?
What I want is for the youth right now to just be empowered and embrace each other and know that they're going to change the world. Like things are changing and it seems really depressing and there's a lot of stuff going on in the news. Don't obsess over it.
Children,
Stop
we've been
all
through
the
all of
research,
this so many times.
research, and it's okay. Don't feel guilty. We all have feelings, and we're really complex human beings. And there are sexual feelings and there are emotional feelings that come after, but forgive yourself. I'm trying to forgive myself and know that things are going to be better in about 15 to 20 years. I
Yeah.
really believe in the future. I really believe, and not just like young. I mean, I'm a little older than you. I'm in my late 40s. You're in your young 40s. But even us, my kids call me a boomer. I'm not. I'm Gen X.
Yeah. Oh, they don't know what a boomer is.
Their dad's a boomer. But
Yeah, bitch, you don't know what a boomer is. You'll know when you're around them. Trust and believe.
Exactly. And talk to your friends. Talk. Don't isolate. COVID brought on a lot of isolation, even for me. And just try to get out there and know that things are going to get better.
Yes. If you want them to, if you're going to put forward the effort. And that's something I always say. It's like, you don't have to have things get better, but just real quick, my dog dying threw me through a loop. I started drinking again. I realized I did all this crazy stuff. I picked my tits back up. I'm doing this. This is something we've been talking about for, I think, half of a year, trying to like get us together. And I think I've been nervous about doing it. I don't know how your feelings are about it, but I'm having great feelings about this. I think whatever this turns into, if it doesn't, but I think it's going to help, hopefully, a lot of people.
I think so. And I love you have a very soothing voice. I think you're going to be great. And I love all your articles and you look fantastic. And I haven't seen you
Thanks.
for a while. So I'm hoping you're going to, put a little outfit on for New
Oh,
Year.
for drag. Darling, I do need to. If you could see the setup right now of lamps that I took tops off and like ring light, I am not letting anyone
I
look.
am ready for a New Year's look.
All right, we'll get it together, girl. Well, Kristal with the K, listen, you have made my day.
Okay. Thank you. You made mine too.
How do you feel
like,
about you feel good about this?
yeah, I feel good. I'm a generally happy person. And if I can, everyone can be.
Totally.
I'm good.
And you're a waiter, you're a waitress, right?
Yes, I'm a waitress.
So bitch, if you can get through that, you can get through. That's the fucking worst job ever.
And I'm so good at it. It's sad.
I'm sure you are, girl.
I'm so good at it. People fucking love me. So I'm, whatever. It's fine. It is what it is. I didn't go to college, so.
I didn't either, girl. This is the best it gets for me. So
this
right,
is
babe.
Fun. I can't wait to see what you put together.
All right, I will. It'll be on the 1st. It's coming out, so.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
Smooches.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.